about this movie and how it affected them.
Of all the people in Montgomery who had to be excited about the discovery of this old movie, it had to be you, Charlie Hubbard, because after all, the two stars of the show, the Yankee who came down to woo the pretty Southern belle from Montgomery, the Yankee was your father, Dr. T. Brannon Hubbard.
Absolutely, sir.
His sister, Margaret Hubbard, your aunt, played Eleanor in the movie.
Absolutely, yes.
The time you saw this movie?
Well, it's an amazing story. Years ago, my father, who passed away about 11 years ago, he was 89, he had mentioned from time to time the fact that somewhere around 1912, 1913, there was a movie done in Montgomery where he and my Aunt Margaret were involved. I had no idea that they were stars, that he was the male lead there.
These were the stars.
These stars. And I had seen one photograph, an old photograph of them dancing in front of the Morning View mansion there on Madison Avenue. But Henrietta and some of the others of my family went to the annual meeting of the archives, Alabama Archives, some weeks ago. Last fall. And much to our amazement, after the main part of the program, after Virginia Hamilton had given her talk, this movie was shown. And it was a great surprise and a thrill, first shot out of the barrel to see my father
you recognized him from this?
Indeed I did, because I've seen some of the old pictures of him when he was...
What did you do, stand up and say, "That's my daddy"?
I believe I did. As a matter of fact, I got up and ran to the front of the room, and my son, older son Clark, was there, and I ran up to him and said, "Look, there's your grandfather, you know, there's Doc." So it was quite exciting.
Of course, many Montgomeryans remember Dr. Hubbard because he lived until quite recently.
Just 11 years ago is when he died, yeah.
Of course, he practiced medicine here for many, many years.
Oh, yeah, he was...
But you had never before obviously you had never seen the movie.
Never
seen. Very little about it.
Very little about it, and it was a great thrill and most exciting.
And of course,
excuse me.
It's a who's who of Montgomery, and I'm sure you recognized or knew of so many other characters in the movie.
Indeed, I did, yeah.
To read the playbill is to read a who's who of Montgomery in the early 20th century.
There are a number of people in the dancing scene and some of the other scenes, Bob, that I'm pretty sure I recognize. I would possibly hesitate to identify them, but they're members of their family, descendants of those people that I'm sure could truly identify them for the
Charlie,
public.
I'm so appreciative that you're sharing this little bit of history, these memories with us, because I've been excited, and I know you're excited about this movie.
Ellen Gunnar Rogers, 83 years young, and you have all sorts of reasons to have enjoyed the movie we've just seen. You won, and you have given me license to mention this, at 83. You remember when the movie was made.
I do. I remember all the excitement. And besides my father, my uncle, and my cousin were all in it.
Well, I mentioned in introducing you, Ms. Rogers, that maiden name was Gunnar. Your father was the legendary Mayor William Gunnar.
My uncle was Gaston Gunnar.
Mayor Gaston Gunnar, who was succeeded.
One of the girls in the movie was Elizabeth Coleman. She was my first cousin.
Tell me what I know you were a little girl in 1914 when the movie was made. 8 years old. What do you remember about the movie?
Well, I remember I didn't see the movie, but I remember the grown people talking about it. And I remember that in the scene of the fire, when Elizabeth Coleman jumped out of the window, she broke her leg. But they didn't show that in the movie.
They didn't show it. That would have livened up the movie a little bit. But she actually broke her leg when she jumped out of the old mansion.
There was great excitement, and everybody in the movie. Montgomery was about 30,000 people then, not that big even, and nearly everybody in town was in the movie.
Well, when a couple of the scenes, there was just a huge crowds of extras. That was the population of Montgomery.
I think it really was.
But not you. You were not there.
No, I said in those days children were seen and not heard.
Well, it's no coincidence that we're sitting in front of this old fire truck there that was, of course, in the movie, and I noticed on the plaque that it was your uncle, Gaston Gunnar, who was mayor at the time when this engine was purchased in 1910.
That's right.
And then, as I believe you told me, your father...
He was elected circuit judge, and then my father ran for the unfinished term. And
served almost continuously. I believe he was out for 4 years in 1940. And, of course, he is remembered in so many ways, not the least being Gunnar Field, which is named in his honor. I believe you think, and I think you're correct, one of the two civilians in America to be honored with a military.
Will Rogers.
Will Rogers being the other.
They're the two fields named for civilians.
You say you did not see the movie and had not seen it until we discovered it a few weeks ago. Is that correct? It had to mean something special to you.
It really did. I appreciate you so much you let me come out and see the preview.
I don't suppose there are any survivors of the movie itself, as far as you know? Any of the people who played lead roles in it?
I don't think they are. Even Jefferson Davis's children are dead that played that part. They were young. But
as I recall, there was a young person who was Governor O'Neill's daughter, but I don't believe that she still lives. I believe perhaps the son of Governor O'Neill is still living.
That's right. I don't know, but I well remember Governor O'Neill.
But Montgomery was so different in 19... So little.
That you knew everybody, all up and down the street.
You mentioned that to visit some of your neighbors in Montgomery was an all-day trip. I mean, you would...
That was my grandmother would go from Clayton Street over to Paris Street, where the governor's mansion is, to visit the Hubbards, and in a buggy, and she'd take her lunch and spend the day because it was such a trip over bad roads, all-day roads, from Clayton Street to Paris Street.
Well, we appreciate so much you sharing some of your remembrances about this wonderful movie. It is just, it's been a thrill for all of us to see it, and I hope it has been for our viewers.
I hope everybody will enjoy it. I think we were so fortunate that it was in such good condition.
It's really is a miracle that it was found and was in such mint condition. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me come down.
I hope you've enjoyed this show this evening, and I hope you've enjoyed the long look back at a Montgomery like most of you have never seen before. I would certainly be remiss if I didn't say thanks, especially tonight, to the Department of Archives and History, Director Ed Bridges, for all the help that they gave us. Without them, this show would not have been possible. Thank you and good evening.